Hey everyone, thank you so much for coming to my session. This is Hackathon Includes Everyone, where we'll discuss how to build inclusive hackathon experiences. So I'll first break down how to recruit diverse audiences to your hackathon in the first place, and then we'll talk about how do we make it so that they have an inclusive and accessible experience. So this is to ensure that we build hackathons for everyone rather than just for ourselves. So our team has spent a lot of time on this, especially this past year, but also within the past 4 years, and we'd love to share some ideas with y'all. So the output of all of this is that we hope to collectively be able to come up with a checklist of points that we think are important to organizing a really great hackathon that's built with everyone in mind. And so whenever we make decisions about our hackathon, or we're just overall like planning anything, we keep these things in mind and share them with our team as well. So to start off with, I'm Charmaine, and I'm currently a rising senior at the University of British Columbia. So I'm from Vancouver, and I co-founded UBC Hacks, which 4 years ago we organized 12-hour hackathons, which were local hack days. They were meant to be beginners friendly, as well as focused on promoting diversity, inclusivity, and accessibility within our local tech community. And over this past year, we've joined forces with NW Hacks and created NW Plus. This started 4 years ago, and we thought it was really important for us to join forces together because that was a bigger team. We could reach out to more of our audiences and be able to share this hacker experience with a lot more people within our community. So this is actually our team, and a lot of them are sitting here as well. We're constantly growing, and over this past year, we've done a lot of really amazing things. So we started actually this past school year off with Local Hack Day, which is the 12-hour hackathon partnered with MLH. This happens across the globe. This is beginners friendly and focused on diversity, inclusivity, and accessibility. And we hosted the largest local hack day in North America. Then followed by that, in January, we hosted NW Hacks, which is our largest hackathon, and it's our flagship hackathon. And then this March, we organized our first ever all-females hackathon, where we basically had participants who identified as female, as well as non-binary, agender, intersex people. And we welcomed them all under one roof. We served over 1,200 of our hackers. We built 200 projects together. And these are the stats for our female participants as well as first-time participants. Some of these stats aren't great, but they are getting better, and we're continuously working on them. And you can tell that they are continuously improving as we went throughout the year. So how do we do this? How do we welcome students from all over, make sure that they have a really good time no matter where they're coming from, how experienced they are, etc. So first of all, I'll share some ideas that I have, and it'll give you a better idea of kind of what I'm hoping that you'll get out of this conversation. And I list items of the checklist that I'm hoping that we can make, and then we can start breaking off into groups and talking about them. So a couple things that I had in mind is, for example, a hackathon theme. This is something that traditionally we don't really consider that much. I feel like a lot of hackathons are open themed, and hackathon participants can come anytime they want, build whatever they want. But it's also really important for us to think about, well, what do we stand for as a hackathon? Can we collectively try to work towards something that will actually move the needle on something and contribute towards a greater impact? And that's where we started theming our local hack days. It's really important for us to think about having a really diverse audience to come out to our hackathons, but it's also really important that you as organizers or as judges or workshop hosts are also representing that diversity that you're hoping to see. That makes for a really, a way more well-rounded experience for everyone who attends. And then the third one is something that we've discussed this past year, which is a lot of hackathons give out travel reimbursement to students in order for them to be able to financially afford to go to hackathons that they otherwise wouldn't be able to. And it flies people out. But the problem is it's not very accessible because they have to pay the price up front, which they might not have in order to go to this hackathon, and then they might get reimbursed 3 to 6 months after because hackathon organizers are really tired after the event, and that's completely understandable. But how do we make it so that we can start paying them up front to be able to afford these flight tickets if we're trying to break down the barrier of entry to our hackathons? So yeah, I thought we can start making an inclusive hackathon to-do checklist together and share back with our teams. So every time we're planning something, we can make sure we go through this checklist again. So this is the itinerary that I have. We break up into groups, give little intros, and I'm thinking maybe groups of like 5. Then we can start sharing our stories and compiling important points that we think we have. And then we'll share this with the entire group. One person from each group can then present their ideas, and then I'll jot all of these down, and then I'll consolidate our list so that I'll send this back to everyone, and you can share this back with your organizing team as well, so that throughout the year we'll be able to make sure that we're organizing hackathons that have everyone in mind.
So my name's Elizabeth. I'm from Los Angeles, and I'm an organizer for Athena Hacks, which is an all-female hackathon. And some of the things that we talked about, that we brainstormed during our talk, was marketing hackathons as beginner-friendly helps get a lot more people, as well as doing things that show that you value minorities, and having pre-event workshops, testimonials, and info sessions that can kind of get the word out there more. Having team formation before the event, and having inclusive categories like best high school hack, best beginner hack, things like that. And also in terms of like the restroom, we had the idea to have like gender neutral restrooms and to put feminine products in restrooms. That's what we came up with.
Cool.
Hi everyone, I'm Grace and I'm the Director of Marketing for Tech Together Boston, and we're Boston's largest all-female, femme, and non-binary hackathon. So the ideas that our group came up with are pretty extensive, but I'll just provide some. So in terms of gender diversity and inclusion, some of the ideas that we came up with are putting pronouns on name badges, gender neutral restrooms, assessing how comfortable hackers are, if they're a gender that is the minority at your hackathon, really checking in with them and not necessarily first coming up to them and saying, hey, how comfortable are you feeling? But really going up to them and asking them, you know, what is your hack? What are you working on? How are you feeling? How's your experience? And engaging from their facial expressions, their body language, and just the way that they're speaking with you, you can kind of read how their experience is going and try to, you know, gauge how they're feeling from that. And then another thing that we came up with was campus ambassadors. So it's really important that your organizing team is diverse, but also establishing a campus ambassador program, if you don't have one already for your hackathon, of diverse representatives so that they can really speak to how your hackathon is working towards becoming more diverse and inclusive. Also, we talked about the pipeline issue in technology where marginalized communities drop out of the pipeline for various reasons. So I think we all think it's really important that you're trying to look at the whole pipeline and find out where people are dropping out and then partnering with organizations that are helping with that cause. So for example, organizations like Girls Who Code, Code with Clossy, those are all organizations that help females who wouldn't really consider a technology career to maybe even start thinking about that. And so if you collaborate with organizations like those, you know, they can really help you boost gender diversity. Also, female mentors, and possibly if you can get a female recruiter to come as a representative to your hackathon can really help as well. And yeah, thank you all for listening to our list.
Awesome, thanks Grace. Cool.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm from Night Hacks at the University of Central Florida. Some of the things that we discussed, first of all, being ready and flexible to make changes that day or as they arise, because you're not going to know all of the needs of all of your participants, and so you need to stand ready to be able to make changes. We also discussed using pronoun stickers or methods of indicating pronouns on IDs and showing that as the default rather than having to ask. We talked about making hackathons inclusive for beginners. And so you might want to visit first year CS classes or even non-CS classes. Having a beginner track, like workshops geared towards beginners, intro coding workshops. And we also discussed a lot the application process and how the application process can make people discouraged to even apply in the first place if they don't come from a traditional CS background or they're just starting out in CS. So thinking carefully about the questions that you ask, maybe instead of asking like, tell us about a project you worked on, which can discourage people who have little experience, you might want to say something like, why do you want to attend? And also tailoring your application to the amount of decision making you'll actually need to make. If some hackathons, they will just accept people up to a point when their capacity is full and then they'll cut off the application. If that's the case and you're not using the information that's being submitted, don't ask for it in the first place, because then you're just creating more barriers for people who may look at that application and be intimidated. And also making sure that in your marketing, you're describing your event as beginner friendly or welcoming to everyone, so that, and including that on your application form as well, so that at every step of the process when they're being recruited, and if people, maybe this is their first exposure to coding, they feel like it's an environment that they can succeed in. And yeah, that's it.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Hey guys, my name is Harsha. I'm from UT Dallas and I organize Hack UTD. So we got several ideas for inclusivity, and they're from like different types of inclusivity. So one of them was like the idea of a gender difference in our hackathon. So obviously we wanted to improve marketing, show that there are more females working at our hackathons. But one of the other things was a lot of our campuses had organizations that are all female. So like Society of Women Engineers or Women in Computing, things like that. And they would often promote hackathons. But what that leads to is that at the actual hackathon itself, even if you have like a 50-50 ratio, you'll have like all male teams or all female teams. So we really wanted to target our marketing to make it seem like we have more men and women collaborating together at our hackathons to show that it's not separate. We want people to be together. Another type of inclusivity we had was like between like different universities. So like does a certain hackathon appear to only be more inclusive to students who attend that specific university? We wanted to like reach out to more universities and combine together. So like we had a lot of Texas students here, so we were forming like a Texas group to mark it out and make sure that we have more students traveling and they're not attending just one hackathon because they feel more comfortable just at their own school. So we got the inspiration from a lot of Canadians here who have a group chat going on. Apart from that, we had some ideas for first-timers, so we wanted to reach out to community colleges because there doesn't really seem to be a lot of representation for hackathons there because they don't really hear about them, and often they're not organized at community colleges, so they often have to travel to like a full 4-year college to experience that. So reaching out to those places was another thing we discussed. Thanks.
Thank you.
I was going to say a lot of the things that we've already talked about have been discussed, but a couple other things that haven't been discussed so far was for dietary restrictions, that if you have some possibly obscure dietary restrictions, offering like a meal stipend type thing if you're concerned you're not going to be able to feed someone for whatever the reason is, if their dietary restriction is something beyond what you can reasonably cater to with the rest of your event and in your budget and everything. Something else that we discussed was cross-promoting with other orgs that aren't necessarily computer science, both in terms of getting more majors involved and kind of what you were talking about earlier with the pipeline problem of if we can find orgs that aren't necessarily within the computer science where we're already doing a lot of marketing, putting more marketing material in front of the people that have it isn't necessarily going to help, but if we can reach out to like, the example that we used was like the education school or something like that, provide them some workshops ahead of time and see if we can get people interested. That's one thing that we could do. And then the other thing in terms of getting beginners involved as well. If you split up the prizes, the best rookie prize, high school hack prizes, things like that, I've seen that before. But the other thing that we're trying to do is break stuff up so we have like some more obscure prizes like the best animatronics prize or the best coffee prize, whether it be about coffee or using Java or something like that. So you have less prizes that appear less competitive, so beginners are more willing to demo what they have. And then just, again, providing, if you've got like a beginner portal or training material in advance of the hackathon, that could also help make it more beginner friendly.
Cool. Thank you. Okay, cool.
I was going to go with a slightly different route when it comes to diversity. So I really like that we talk a lot about cultural and gender diversity, but a diversity that I see often kind of skipped over when it comes to hackathons is physical disability and accommodations like that. One thing that can help a lot is, if, for example, if you're visually impaired, reading the slides at an opening ceremony is essentially impossible. This could be easily fixed, though, by handing out the slides at the beginning so that they can follow along with the speakers. Same with the hearing impaired. They can't really follow along to what's being said. So maybe someone with sign language, or even posting the script for the speech early on can really help people follow along and actually understand what's going on during a presentation. Another thing that I really like that we talk about is including beginners. But I've gone to a few hackathons that I'd say try to target beginners, and one of the biggest problems I see with them is you either alienate the beginners and make it hard so that people who have dev experience can succeed, or you alienate the people with dev experience by making the prizes much easier to get, and kind of, if you've coded for 48 hours straight and then lose to like a PowerPoint idea, it can be really upsetting. So something I could maybe solve this is different streams at a hackathon, like maybe even 3 different streams: no coding, slight coding, and then someone who feels very comfortable with coding. This could improve how many people can come to the hackathon. People who are not comfortable coding can just take a simpler stream and they won't feel as scared participating. And yeah, we got some more. We're gonna switch around.
Speaking of diversity, there's going to be a lot of people coming from different countries and different cultures, like myself. So what we discussed about is having we can pair up with some student organizations. So let's say we notice a lot of Spanish people, so we can pair up with the Spanish organization of that university and have some mini events so that they just feel welcome, and we can have more people come in that way as well. Yeah.
All right, I promise. We got one more. So our last point that we thought we would like to share with the group is to invite a diverse pool of mentors, judges, and workshop leaders, because these being the tech industry professionals that are coming to our event, they really provide these hackers with different backgrounds that they can learn from and identify with, and also maybe different roles in tech that the hackers can get familiarized with. So not just programmers, but also like product managers, and looking into the different aspects of tech and the different backgrounds that an industry professional can come from can really help the growth of a new hacker and a beginner in the field. Cool.
Hey, I'm Hamza from Tamu Hack. So we have a few more things on our list. One major thing that we were talking about is outreach to non-STEM majors, because in general STEM skews towards like males and has other like places that it skews into, and so reaching out to non-STEM people will help alleviate some of those imbalances that we have sometimes in our communities, and helps more people get into tech, or tech people learn about things that are different. Another thing that we were talking about is a holistic judging rubric, so people aren't strictly judged on their technical skills, because people have a wide range of skills and they should be appreciated for the work that they do when they come to a hackathon. One more thing that we were talking about is our all-inclusive resources, so more than just MLH coming with like a box of tech gear that some people might not be able to work with off the bat, some arts and crafts type of that's what we were talking about, right? Yeah. Just more resources available for people with different skill sets that are not strictly technical. But for those people who are trying to get into a more technical project that don't have that skill set, engineering mentors can really be helpful in alleviating some of like the minor problems that can hold you back for a long time. So those can help people feel like they can do more at a hackathon. And the last thing that we were talking about is a diverse organizing team, because different perspectives always brings better ideas, and a diverse organizing team brings a lot more perspectives. So that's all we got.
Cool. Thank you so much. Yeah, so I jotted all of those down, and I'd like to also collect the pieces of paper that you have if possible, and then I'll combine all of it together and make sure that we can share it back with all of you. So here are a couple more things that I just jotted down. Ask about diversity, inclusivity, and applications. Not only is it something that you as organizers care about, but people that are showing up to your hackathon should also care about them. Gender pronoun name tags, we've already talked about them. Dietary restrictions, sleeping and washroom amenities for all genders, being able to have a room for people to decompress, or if they have any religious rituals that they'd be able to perform them, especially because hackathons are 24 hours, and that means like it's an entire day that they'll have to miss out on whatever they need to do. Yeah, representation on media and pictures. So you can see these are a couple of things that we've done. We've tried to include kind of more different graphics within our design. So you can see like little people in wheelchairs, or people of different genders, different cultures, like different, yeah. We also have like all gender washrooms, dietary restrictions, a theme, etc. So I'd love to take any questions, but I also like for any of you to just, since you've talked and like been able to share and collaborate on ideas, that you should absolutely exchange contact information and stay in touch, so that throughout the entire year you'd be able to talk back with these people and talk about how your hackathon is tackling these issues that we've talked about. And the goal of all of this is really to show you that you don't have to have a diversity-themed hackathon in order to be diverse, inclusive, and accessible for everyone. It should be everyone's job. And so if we think about these things every step of the way, we can continuously get better at it. So yeah, that's everything I have. Feel free to contact me if you have anything, but also exchange contact information with each other. Thank you so much.